In the last 12, 24 hours or so, there was something said about the information that's coming out little by little and how it could be very distressing for some and how it is distressing for some. And people aren't really kind of able to keep themselves neutral. So I just want to share with you that that is a normal reaction. It's not your ideal reaction because you want to stay in a high frequency. And if you can't stay neutral about what you're hearing, then you, of course, want to mitigate that. But I'm going to just share with you back in 2010, that is what kind of woke me up because I was exposed to a lot of conspiracy talk all of a sudden. There was somebody that was, because back then there was a very popular site called Vigilant Citizen, and that person did like deep dives, conspiracy deep dives on all of the people in the music industry. And, lo and behold, they weren't wrong. But it just created just one rabbit hole after the other, after the other. And you do get into a frame of mind. So there was a lot of talk about in the videos in the media that I was watching, there was a lot of talk about them being, Satan worshipers, and there being like demons controlling us, mind control, all these different things, entities being controlling us. Okay. So at that point in time, I jarringly woke up. That was something that my psyche at that time couldn't handle. I was going through the loss, a deep loss, having lost my mother in the same year. So this is 2010, and I moved and all this stuff. And this was all put in my peripheral, and it kind of did me in. It took me like 48 hours to kind of come out of that disassociation that I was in. And I was in a disassociation. I couldn't trust anybody in that frame of mind and for that little period of time. Nobody in my family. It was very hard. It was very hard. And part of that was because my brother's a jerk, and has no compassion. Well, for obvious reasons, but had no compassion for what I was experiencing in that moment. So my point is that it can very much do you in if you're not prepared for this stuff. Okay. So heed the advice that you've been given if it's too much for you, really, because you could easily get into a state of mind that you don't want to be in at this point in time. And that's really just it, and I will say that, and I've said this before, because I was consuming that material for like 6 years, but also going down other dark paths, it was her pulling me out. I saw that video that changed my life when I needed it the most, at the most critical point in my life. Okay? Because I was really going down the wrong path, thinking I was going down the right path, and it was dark and it would have really been bad. So while it was troublesome for me mentally, finding out all that information, in the end, it helped her catch me and pull me out of a really bad life, So think about whether or not you really need to consume that content right now, And you have to remember, you have to tell yourself that it's just a dream. It's not happening. If dream doesn't work for you, tell yourself that this is just a movie, because that's what they're saying. If you read anything that anybody's telling you, all the different stuff that's going on, that they're saying that this has been scripted and this was a long time ago, it's a movie. It's a movie. So if you sit in a movie theater, a dark theater, and you're watching something on screen for 2.5 hours, you don't assume that that's real. But our reality feels very tangible and it feels very real, and we get sucked back into our daily lives every day. I do it every day, where I'm sucked into the illusion of my work day and the kind of stuff I have to deal with in my work life. So you have to keep reminding yourself, because if you don't, then you can slip back in, and then you could take all of this horrendous stuff as being real and having actually happened to people. But it's a story. It's a story, and it's NPCs that this stuff is happening to. And I completely understand feeling the distress, because even as somebody who has never had children, never been a parent, I hold children very dearly, their innocence, and having that stripped from them, us hearing about that, like think about that, right? So what is one of the most jarring and distressing things for a Source player to hear? It would be something like that. It's not real. You have to just tell yourself that it's not real. So keep that in mind, and keep your frequency high. All right.